Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm County Court Judge Michael Davis. I'm running to keep my seat this year in group number 17 of the County Court. I'm assigned to the Hollywood South Satellite Courthouse. That's double division. I have a criminal division handling misdemeanor cases. That's anything where the judge sentences someone to less than 1 year in jail. And on the civil side, money matters up to $15,000. I also handle some traffic tickets with serious bodily injury or death, and also landlord-tenant cases. I live in Hollywood with my wife, Neely, and my two kids, Mia and Jake, and I've been on the bench for about 2.5 years. I love it. It's an incredible, incredible job. For me, it's really not just a job, it's a calling. I hope I get a chance to tell you a little bit more about some of the things that I've done in the community. 90 seconds is a little bit of a tight time. I'm keeping an eye on my friend here. My biggest passion outside of the bench is working with children and trying to help them. Also encouraging more women lawyers to come into our courtroom and getting out in the community. My favorite thing about running and being on the ballot this year is meeting all of you and meeting everyone and hearing what you think is important in the community. What do you think that your judges can do for you? I'm just about out of time. Looking forward to my friend Mr. Finkelstein's questions, and thanks so much for having me tonight. Judge Michael Davis, Group 17. Thank you very much. Step up, put your name on the thing.
Next person that we have in Group 17, come on down, Rhoda Sotloff. There you go.
Love that intro. Good evening, everybody. My name is Rhoda Sotloff, and I'm running for County Court Judge in Group 17. A little bit about me. I know I only have 90 seconds. I went back to school at the ripe old age of 37, taking one class at a time as a single parent doing my undergrad, and then ultimately got my law degree at the age of 46. It took me 9 years to do my undergrad and my law school, so I know you think I'm only 46 now, but I'm not. I've been in the legal field for about 40 years, 18 of which is 60 seconds, 18 of which as a lawyer. I practice family law, domestic violence, dependency law, some civil litigation, both in the county circuit level and some appellate work. The reason why that's important is because the chief judge can put you anywhere that he wants to, so I am qualified in every area. My community service, I've been in the community for more than 20 years. If you look on the back of my card, you should have it. If you don't have it, you can get it outside. It will show you all my community involvement. One thing in particular is on mental health, NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, past president and vice president of NAMI for Broward County. We advocate for families who have relatives that suffer from mental illness. Look me up on Facebook under Rhoda Sotloff. You can look under my campaign page or go to my website, Rhoda4Judge, the number 4, judge.com. Again, my name is Rhoda Sotloff, and I'm running for County Court Judge in Group 17. Thank you.
All right, the first question, Judge Davis, you were appointed 2.5 years ago, and you've been a judge, and now you've been running for your first time. And in doing that, you have probably explored areas in the county you didn't even know existed, and different types of people and different groups with different interests. My question to you is, how have you changed because of them? And tell me about the mistakes that you made and how you become a better judge because of it.
That's a great question, Howard. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's been a fantastic ride these last 2.5 years being a judge. Anybody who thinks that being a judge is an easy job has clearly never worn the black robe. And it's hard, it's stressful, and around the courthouse, I'm sometimes known as the mensch on the bench, because I'm an Orthodox Jew and everybody knows it. But even I get stressed out. And I had an incident with one of Mr. Finkelstein's public defenders that I did not like how I acted myself. I hated it, actually. I thought it was terrible. And Howard and I talked it out. I talked it out with the young man. And I've learned so much. That was maybe 1, 2, 3 months on the bench. God, I've learned so much since then. I've come so very far And, you know, the first few days when I was running, you asked about learning and meeting people and running, I met a pastor at a church, I won't say which one, and I said to him, you know, Pastor, this morning I'm here because God wants me to be here to talk to you, not about the election, but about your community, about your little city here in Broward County, and what you and your parishioners need. That's the true blessing of running for election, is going out there and meeting everyone. And there's so many faces I see here this evening that I recognize, and just a blessing to be here. Thank you.
Rhoda, we've known each other for a long time, and you've been a lawyer for a long time. And Broward County has had many, many struggles with our judiciary. We've had many judges removed, we've had many judges who had substance abuse problems, ethical problems, sexual problems, to the point where there was a front page story in the New York Times when 4 of our judges were facing criminal charges. My question to you is, you never ran against a sitting judge who had scandal and had problems, but you chose this time to run against a judge who has no scandals and everybody likes. Why?
Well, the first thing is, I believe that the seat is not guaranteed. A judge's seat is not guaranteed, and I believe that everybody should have an opportunity to vet the candidates, learn all about them, and then make a decision in voting for them, as opposed to the other process. When I chose to run, I don't believe that there were any judges that had a problem. To the best of my knowledge, I don't remember, because I think most of them were already gone. Or if they did have problems, they were on their way out, or else I might not have known about it, that they had a problem. So my reason for picking this race really is because the seat is not guaranteed, and everybody should have an opportunity to vote.
Judge David, you raised the fact that you're an Orthodox Jew. I'd like to know how God influences you in your daily life, not outside the courtroom, but in the courtroom.
That's a really, really good question. Well, look, as we all know, there's a separation of church and state in America. I wear a yarmulke in my regular civilian life. I don't wear one when I'm sitting on the bench, because I certainly don't want anyone to have any negative or positive feelings about my impartiality sitting on the bench. I'm a judge. I became a judge for some very personal reasons, because my family went through the Holocaust. I had a relative who was a judge. My great-grandfather was a judge in Romania. Was killed very shortly after the Holocaust began. Because of that, I hear his voice when I am on the bench, and I fall back on my many years of learning, rigorous Talmudic study, to try to be the most fair and balanced judge that I can be. That's what it's about to me. It's about the law, and it's about fairness. It's what I was raised with. It's the values that I've always had, ever since I was a little boy. And one of the lawyers who frequently appears before me said, you know, Judge, you always issue very Solomonic type rulings, and we all respect you for it. So I would say that that's how it influences me. Thank you, Howard.
Rhoda, we've known each other because I know you're involved in a lot of communities where people need help. I'd like you to share with the audience here and who's listening, tell us about your work in the mental health field.
Okay, and that's really one of my big passions, NAMI, it's National Alliance on Mental Illness. And what the organization does is it advocates for families who have relatives that suffer from mental illness and or drug addiction. I'm certified to teach a 12-week class. It's free, I don't get paid, it's free to my students. And we teach all about the mental illness, the brain, the medications. We actually have workshops when we put the relatives into the shoes of the ill relatives so we can experience what they're going through. I'm certified to teach in Broward County and throughout the state of Florida. That to me is something really rewarding, and every time we have an event, we call Howard to be our main speaker, which there's another one coming up soon in September. But that is really a passion, and that's taught me all about compassion, and you can never judge a book by its cover. You know, when you see somebody out that's panhandling, you really don't know what they're going through. You don't know if they have mental illness, if it's addiction. You just can't prejudge anybody. And that to me, I got involved with NAMI in 2002. They basically saved my life and my son's life. And so I'm forever indebted to them. And that is going to be an asset for me when I'm on the bench, hopefully if I'm on the bench. Thank you.
And those are your candidates in that race?